So, welcome to the Reading Corner. We're starting with Robert Swindells' Stone Cold. It's a favourite book of mine, really good, really sort of gripping, about a young boy who finds himself isolated and out on the streets of London, has a bit of a difficult time, but I thought that might appeal to some of you. You might recognise some of the places in it. Relatively short chapters as well, so quite easy to sort of get through. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So, Robert Swindells, Stone Cold. You can call me Link. It's not my name. It's what I say when anybody asks, which isn't often. I'm invisible, see? One of the invisible people. Right now I'm sitting in a doorway watching the passers-by. They avoid looking at me. They're afraid. I want something they've got. And they're right. Also, they don't want to think about me. They don't like reminding that I exist. Me and those like me. We're living proof that everything's not all right. And we make the place untidy. Hang about, and I'll tell you the story of my fascinating life. Daily routine orders 1. Shelter. Yes, I like it. It's got a ring to it, as I'm sure you'll agree. Shelter, as in shelter from the stormy blast. It's what they're all seeking. The street people, what they crave. If they can only find shelter, everything will be fine. Well, get fell in, my lucky lads. I'm ready for you. My fascinating life. Yeah. Born March the 20th, 1977 in Bradford, Yorkshire, to Mr and Mrs X. We were a family. You know, as happy as most. Till Dad ran off with a receptionist in 1991 when I was 14 and at the local comp. This mucked up my school for work for quite a while. But that's not why I ended up like this. No. Vincent's to blame for that. Good old Vince, Mum's boyfriend. You should see him. I mean, Mum's no Kylie Minogue, but Vincent, he's about 50 for a start. And he's one of these old dudes that wears cool gear and try to act young, and it doesn't work because they've got grey hair and fat bellies and they just make themselves pathetic. As if that's not enough. Vince likes his ale. I suppose Dad must have been a bit of a bastard in his way, but at least he wasn't a boozer. You should see the state Vincent's in when he and Mum come home from the club. He's got this very loud laugh, laughing at nothing. If you know what I mean. And he stands there with his arm round Mum, slurring his words as he tells me to call him Dad. Dad? I wouldn't call that fat pillock Dad if he was the last guy on earth. And the one thing that really bugs me is the way he leers at Mum and comes out with this very suggestive stuff about going to bed and rounding off a decent night. In all the years Dad was with us, I never once knew him to mention that in my hearing or even hint at it. This slob leers and winks and nudges with one eye on me to see how I'm taking it. And my mum just laughs and shoves him and says, "Oh, you are a one." It makes me puke. He's changed her. It's one of the things I hate him for. She used to be one of those quiet people who were satisfied with the daily routine of their lives. She hardly ever went out at night. She didn't seem to want to. She was wrapped up in her family, I guess. She was always there when you needed her, and I think she loved us. Me and Carol, I mean. Oh, I know how it sounds, me going on like this about Mum as though she wasn't entitled to her own life. Of course she's entitled, but what I'm saying is, why Vince? Carol's my sister, by the way. She's 4 years older than me, and she's always spoiled me. And when good old Vince moved in and Mum started changing, it was Carol who made life bearable for me. It was bad, but I could stand it with her there to support me. Then, one night when Mum was working late, something happened between Carol and Vince. I didn't understand it then, and She never told me anything, but I've a fair idea now what it must have been. Anyway, she said something to Mum and they had this flaming row and it ended up with Carol walking out of the house. She moved in with her boyfriend and, well, I was on my own. I stuck it out till I finished school. But that was it. I'd got 5 GCSEs, which was a miracle when you remember what was going on at home, but I couldn't get a job and there's no government money for school leavers. You're supposed to be on a training scheme, but there aren't enough places and I didn't get one. I'm sure Mum would have supported me till I found something, but it wasn't long before Vince started on about me living on his money. I wasn't living on his money. It was Mum's money. But he went on, getting nastier and nastier, and one night, when I'd been with my mates, he locked me out the house. It wasn't even his house, but he locked the door and wouldn't let Mum open it. I went round to Carol's and she let me spend the night. When I got home next morning, Vince started slapping me round the head for going off and worrying Mum. If you happen to know anyone who's looking for a 100% out-and-out bastard, I can let him have Vince's address. Anyway, that's how he was with me, and I guess Mum's scared of him because she didn't stick up for me, so I left. You'd have left too in my place. Anybody would. It's called making yourself homeless. And so here I am, sitting in this doorway, which is now my bedroom, hoping some kind punter will give me a bit of small change so I can eat. Good, eh? I'm getting used to my name, breaking it in like a pair of new boots. Good morning, Shelter, I say to the bathroom mirror, smiling. Good morning, Shelter. You're a handsome devil, but you're idle, lad. You need a shave. I've been writing it too, on the backs of old envelopes. Shelter, Shelter, Shelter. It's starting to look like an authentic signature already. I realise, of course, that all this had precious little to do with recruiting. And perhaps you think I'm stalling, putting it off. Not so. I'm merely indulging myself. After all, there's plenty of time. The street people aren't going to go away, and anticipation is the best part of a treat, my old granny used to say. So it's a case of wait for it, you horrible little man. Carry on tomorrow.